The first key writing concept we'll discuss is the concept of parallel phrasing. So, what is parallel phrasing? Going to Grammarly for a definition, parallelism in grammar is defined as two or more phrases or clauses in a sentence that have the same grammatical structure. And why is this important? Simply put, a sentence with parallel construction makes your writing effective, classy, and certain to impress anyone who reads your stuff. Because the majority of our clients are executives, they really are very discerning and pay attention to the small details. So we want to make sure that when we're delivering documents, they are phrased in a way that is not only easy to read, but that is also grammatically correct. So how do you ensure that your writing is parallel? The easiest way is to pay attention to nouns and verbs throughout all of the phrases and sentences that you put together. So let's look at a simple example here. For dinner, we like lamb chops and to fry Brussels sprouts. In this sentence, lamb chops is a noun, and then Brussels sprouts is also a noun, but it's preceded by fry, which is a verb. And we don't like that, right? We want to make sure that we're keeping the nouns and the verbs consistent. So how can we restructure the sentence? For dinner, we like lamb chops and Brussels sprouts. Or alternatively, we can say, for dinner, we like to grill lamb chops and fry Brussels sprouts. Now the phrasing is nice and consistent, and that is delicious. So the conclusion here, make sure that all of the lists you create throughout resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profile content are parallel. So a key example here would be the key expertise section that you might put at the top of a two-page resume. If we look at a client who specializes in real estate, you might include a key expertise section that has real estate finance, creating Excel models, effective contract negotiation, managing projects, strategy development, and leading global teams. While all of this content is applicable and does really highlight this client's niche areas of expertise and strengths, it is not parallel. So you can see that some of the bullet points start with creating, managing, leading, whereas others start with an adjective. So we have effective contract negotiation, and then others are just nouns. So real estate finance and strategy development. To make this list parallel, we're just going to align all of these phrases. So we can turn this into real estate finance, Excel modeling, contract negotiation, project management, strategy development, and global team leadership. So now all of these are nouns, and it just makes the list a lot easier to read. And it's also grammatically correct. You'll also want to make sure that you're incorporating parallelism into your bullet points. So if we take the same client and look at a few sample bullet points we might craft. The first one, EBITDA improvement by developing and executing real estate optimization strategies. Then responsible for project management, rolled out new customer-friendly bank branch model, improving customer engagement scores by 12%, and conducted internal research to analyze existing office space utilization and devise a strategy that saved $52 million in annual costs. Going back to the previous slide, if we look at the first word in each of these bullet points, we have EBITDA improvement, responsible for, and conducted. These are not parallel. So to make all of these bullet point parallels, we'll simply start to rephrase them by starting each bullet point with an action verb in the past tense, because all of these things are from a previous position and have already been completed. So we can turn this into increased EBITDA by developing and executing real estate optimization strategies, project managed rollout of a new customer-friendly bank branch model, improving customer engagement scores by 12%, and then conducted internal research to analyze existing office space utilization and devise strategy that saved $52 million in annual cost. So this is pretty simple and straightforward, but please make sure you're paying attention to make all of your lists a lot easier to read. And then responsible for, I just really like to avoid that phrasing on resumes in general because I think it can come off as pretty passive. So, you're responsible for doing this thing and then you finished it and called it a day. You can make that bullet point a lot more powerful by just selecting from the hundreds of action verbs you have to choose from. So that's another thing to watch out for. I will judge the parallelism of your sentence structure. If you are writing up any lists that aren't parallel, you'll see these in red in the tracked changes documents that you receive from us. So please make sure to pay attention to those and try to get used to this construction as soon as possible. The other concept I wanted to quickly cover is just keeping your phrasing short and simple. So a lot of times there's this misconception that business writing has to be complex, right? So if you're using sophisticated words or if you're phrasing your sentence in a very long and convoluted way, you'll come off as more eloquent or smarter. In reality, that just isn't the case. If you're thinking about the people reviewing your documents, they often have a large stack to go through and really just want to cut to the chase. So I came across this Forbes article titled How to Write a Killer Cover Letter, 6 Fresh Strategies for the New Normal. And I'll read out this excerpt to you because I think it really just helps hone in on this concept. So the author says, cut the cake. My writing coach turned me on to the work of Jack Grapes. His book, Method Writing, talks about how you have to cut out the birthday cake if you want your message to be clear. In Grapes' world of words, birthday cake is the extra stuff you don't need in any sentence or phrase. So are you ready to skip dessert? Look at all of the adjectives or extras you have in your cover letter. As a dedicated self-starter, I know I can handle multitasking while staying professional. So what happens if you cut out the birthday cake at the front and the back? It's counterintuitive, but sometimes what you leave out actually makes your writing stronger, not weaker, because the simplest message is the strongest. So I know I can handle multitasking, and here's why. In your cover letters especially, you'll probably notice that we start to cut out any excess phrasing or just simplify any longer sentence fragments that may be difficult to read. So pay attention to those as well, because the more you keep this concept in mind, the easier it will be for you to put together these documents and the easier it will be for your readers to process them.